Hello and hey, messing around with Baldur's Gate 3, so you want to be a barbarian. Anger management's overrated anyways. Let's dive in. Barbarians are those who embrace their animalistic nature. They come alive in the chaos of combat. So that's where our focus will lie. No distractions, just swinging weapons. The point of this build is to make as few decisions as possible, as straightforward of a build as can be. Never need to respec, don't need specific items, works great from the start of the game and only gets better as you go. Jumping right into attributes, 16 strength, 14 dex, 16 con, 8 intelligence, 12 wisdom, and 8 charisma. We're an absolute physical specimen. Our physical modifiers are as high as we can push them, wisdom with a bit extra for saves and perception checks, dumping intelligence and charisma, as those don't help us hit people harder. Let's get it started. Level 1, Barbarian. We get Rage, which makes us take half physical damage and adds 2 damage to each of our attacks. Also get Unarmored Defense, which is unfortunately mostly irrelevant due to it only ever being 15 AC for us. The exception would come if you find appropriate armor, but like I said at the start of the very beginning, not accounting for specific items. You can throw on some medium armor and be better off for most of the game. Level 2, Reckless Attack, granting advantage to all of our attacks for a turn, but gives our enemies the same advantage against us. Having a way to mitigate crits would be good, but not strictly necessary. The half physical damage means we are likely shrugging off most hits anyway. And Danger Sense, which gives us advantage on dex saving throws against traps, spells, and surfaces as long as we aren't blinded or incapacitated. The math on this says we're passing slightly more DC 15 checks than we are failing. Without it, we'd be failing about 60% of them. Level 3 get to choose our subclass. Berserker fits wonderfully for us. Frenzied Rage gives us access to Frenzied Strike, which allows us to make a melee attack as a bonus action, but comes with the stark downside of a stack of Frenzied Strain, which is an additive, subtractive, -1 to hit penalty to all other attacks during our current rage, resetting only when the rage ends. That's a big downside, but we care about it less than the average barbarian, both because we won't need to use it all that often, and because as long as we're rolling advantage on our attacks, we have a pretty good shot at annihilating our enemy through crits. Also adding stacks of Frenzied Strain is Enraged Throw, which lets us throw an item or even another creature at your foe as a bonus action. If the attack hits, that character falls prone with no saving throw. In the right scenario, such as needing to break a caster's concentration, invaluable. Level 4, we get our first ability score improvement. I'll make my case for Great Weapon Master. A flat +10 damage is incredible, especially at this tier of play. The -5 penalties to hit is brutal, but unless we are less than half as likely to hit as we would be without the feat active, it's still more average damage per swing. Even a 20% chance to hit compared to 45 without is comparable. I have to question what the heck you're fighting at this level that you only have 20% chance to hit with advantage, but pop off, cowboy. And if you do find yourself in a situation where you need to have the best chance to hit, you can turn the passive off for an attack. Also, landing a crit or felling an enemy while having this feat will allow you to make a bonus action attack without the Frenzied Strain, so take advantage of that when you can. At level 5, we get an extra attack and really start to feel the power of the build. This is the same level casters are getting haste, so go ahead and cozy on up to your wizard friend and convince them that it might be a pretty neat idea to spend their concentration slot on you. The more attacks you have, the more likely you are to crit. The more likely you are to crit, the more often you can freely use your bonus action to attack, which might also crit. There's no infinite chain or anything, but our crits are going to do more than double damage. Coming a bit late into the video, but you see this character on screen. Fully recommending Half-Orc. This build aims for crits. Half-Orcs help you maximize crits with their Savage Attacks feature, dealing an extra die of weapon damage. This is the Hireling Kurz. He's a pretty chill guy. Know him? Love him. Also at level 5, we get fast movement. Our speed increases by 10 feet, 3 meters. Character level 6, we're going to multiclass, bring in our good friend the Fighter. At this level, we get Second Wind, a bonus action 1d10 plus fighter level heal. More helpful at getting you out of the maim condition than topping you off, but if things get dire, might be exactly what gets you through the encounter by the skin of your teeth. We also receive a fighting style. We'll go Great Weapon Fighting. Rerolling 1s or 2s on damage dice on a single die isn't terribly impactful. Some look down their nose at the style. However, because we are a half-orc and looking for crits, we will be rolling a lot of dice, letting that little bonus add up. The +1 bonus to AC from defense isn't that big of a deal when we're giving enemies advantage to hit us, and does nothing against the critical hits that will actually feel a little bit. Though, it's absolutely still an honorable mention, but the focus of this build is offense, so I recommend the offensive fighting style. Character level 7 will go Fighter 2, get that action surge. Extra couple of attacks in the first round could mean over 100 points of damage that turn. Not too shabby, especially for this level. Not much more to add. Action surge is generically good on every class in the game. We're on our way to something else too, so it feels pretty free. Character level 8, we get our last level of Fighter. I said no decision making and we want crits, so we're going Champion. A little bit of a boring class choice for some, but mechanically, it's powerful. Regular characters have a 5% chance to crit, nearly double that when advantage comes into play. We now have a 10% chance to crit at base, and a 19% chance to crit with advantage. Over an opening turn with 4 attacks, that's a nearly 57% chance to crit once, and only gets more impressive if we get an item or two that further reduces the number that you need to crit. So while you do not require these items, they are the ones you specifically will be looking out for. More math on that later. Character level 9, we return to Barbarian. Ah, good to be home. We gain an additional charge of rage up to 4 and can no longer be charmed or frightened during our rage, nor will calm emotions force us out of it. That's a rarer thing, but good to know you're protected. Can't see what you prevent, that type of situation. Character level 10, Barbarian 7, Feral Instinct, +3 to initiative and cannot be surprised. Surprised is another less common thing, but +3 initiative is so nice. Going near the top of the order is such a leg up for your team. You are likely downing an enemy on your first turn unless it's a difficult boss encounter. So taking out a priority target or someone that would have had a turn before your teammates is chef's kiss. Character level 11, we get our second and final ability score improvement. Boost that strength. I know we're out here crit fishing, but our comparatively lower chance to hit at this level is starting to become a bother, and we'll take what we can get. That is also a +1 to damage for what it's worth. I know you've been counting. And the final character level, Barbarian 9, Brutal Critical. You roll an extra damage die when you crit. Is this better than getting the ASI from Fighter 4? Probably not, but it's a theme. Big crits and not giving a shit. Heck. A change not seen on this screen is that our rage damage bonus goes up to 3 from 2. Yeah, it does. Alright, earlier we talked about how stacking improved critical hit gets you seeing that red text way more often than your allies or enemies, which of course is part of the reason that we have chosen Half-Orc and gone 9 level deep into Barbarian. Extra damage dice on crits. That all tracks. But there are ways to get automatic crits. If the enemy is paralyzed or similarly incapacitated, attacks within 10 feet 3 meters are guaranteed criticals, which does rely on your team outside of items. Needs to be talked about because it is pretty accessible and there aren't that many sources of improved critical hit. So you get the most value out of your extra dice from the quote-unquote guaranteed sources. Definitely worth noting and going for, even with investment into your increased critical strike chance. If you wanted maximum critical hit chance, your build does have to get very specific and shy away from great weapons. Almost all of the improved crit sources are locked behind Act 3 bosses, so you are funneled to them late. Would have to do a little bit of respecking to fully make use of the items in that late game too, so it's not optimal. Just playing the game as we have the whole way, with one more source of improved critical, can end up only needing an 18 on the die, which is 15% chance to crit or nearly 28% with advantage. And over our 4 attacks from actions, that is nearly a 73% chance to crit on a turn. You're going to see them all the time. And that's just fun. That's why Berserker is fitting. An extra chance at a crit thrown in with the bonus action raises it to over 80% chance to have a critical on your turn. I know I'm over-explaining and focusing in super hard on the crit thing. You get it, critical hits are good. Meanwhile, our regular damage is still great and does not rely on a resource or specific items. Not an absolute top-tier damage dealer, but not that far off for how straightforward it is. Add in the resistance to physical damage from rage and those D12 hit dice. We're extremely hard to put on the ground. Half-Orc even giving us a way to pop back up once ourselves too. If you're looking for an effective build that helps you speed up your combats with simple turns, can't do all the much better than this, so I hope you got something out of it. Or at the very least, reconsider a simple build. You're playing 4 characters, a quote-unquote boring one isn't so boring when you're already focusing on your favorites. Hope to catch you in the next one. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Be safe, guys.